On today's episode of the Broadway Shuffle, we discuss Texas Tech's dominant win over Utah and look ahead to the road test against BYU. That and much more next on the Broadway Shuffle. Okay, episode 41 of the Broadway Shuffle with Clayton, Zyler, and Conrad. I'm Brennan, and welcome shufflers to the show. Fresh off of a dominant road win against Utah, the Texas Tech Red Raiders bounced back in a big way to take care of business against the Utes. But we will react to that here and then also look ahead to BYU as the road test continues pretty quickly tomorrow against the Cougars. So first of all, welcome to the show. If this is your first time, we appreciate you checking us out. You can follow us at the Broadway Shuffle, listen on Spotify or Apple, or check us out on YouTube and like this video and subscribe to the channel by clicking the button on the top right. We so enjoy having you, and feel free, as always, to share your opinion in the comments. We love to hear from you, and we try to get back to as many as we can. This is one of the most interactive podcasts you will find, and we look forward to having you along the journey. So, all right, Z, Texas Tech comes in needing a win, found a win, and also it looks like your guards decided to step up in a big way too. What were your overall thoughts on the victory against the Utes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to come out here and tell you that I've watched a ton of Utah basketball prior to this game, but I thought you played them about as well as you would have liked to. I think you did a lot of things that bothered them offensively pretty much throughout the entire game. You had a lot of good answers to their adjustments when Utah went to, and if you listen to Craig Smith's podcast, or not his podcast, his press conference, I like Craig Smith quite a bit, actually. I think he's in a tough situation with Utah, but I think he's a sharp basketball mind. And they talked a little bit about how we had to switch up a lot of our defensive things, and Texas Tech had an answer every single time. Their guards are really hard to press, and when Toppin's in the game, you have to respect the paint, but you can't double too hard because he's going to kick out to shooters. And I just thought you put together a really, really good performance and probably one of your best of the year. And it was against a Power 5 opponent. Now, I'm not going to say that Utah's some sort of world beater, but I was impressed with your team. I was impressed with what you were able to do defensively in the second half. I still think you have a lot of things that you need to work out on rotation, specific things, and then adjustments a little bit earlier. But Utah had a good game plan. You got to tip your hat a little bit, and that team usually launches a ton of three balls, and they really got away from that and tried to get inside. And I think that took our staff a little bit off guard. So good performance. I'm happy they did it, and it gets you back on the right track.
Yeah, we'll discuss some of the bracketology, feedback from this win as well. We'll be looking at each game. We'll kind of keep update on what's going on within the bracketologist minds and where Texas Tech falls. But this win definitely helps you. Is probably one of your best wins of the season for sure. After not really being able to take care of your non-conference slate. Clayton, one of your favorite players was Christian Anderson, the true freshman guard, and he had a great game off the bench, was a great piece, hit a lot of good shots for you. What were your thoughts specifically on Anderson, but also Hawkins as well, as the guard play really stepped up against Utah?
Yeah, I think like Zyler kind of mentioned, I think this is the best game between the two of them probably of the year. We've had we've had good games from both of them all year, but I don't know that we've had a good game on the same game like we did yesterday. I actually did want to bring something up on Christian Anderson that I saw on Evan Maya. They track your lineup success rate. They have, your best 2-man, 3-man, 4-man lineup. Christian Anderson is actually in every single one. So wow. The best 2-man is Anderson and McMillan. 3-man is Anderson, McMillan, Toppin. 4-man, Anderson, McMillan, Toppin, Darion. And then 5-man is Anderson, McMillan, Toppin, Darion, and Overton. And that 5-man lineup is actually the raw offensive efficiency is 174.4, which means we're almost at 2 points per possession, which is insane.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I still am pretty high on this team. Definitely have some things to figure out on defense. I don't love the scheme that we're playing, honestly, with the like tag and hedge and then recover. I don't think we're doing a great job of the help defender getting in the paint, but I trust Grant to figure that out as the season goes. And obviously you're great on offense.
Yeah, Conrad, this was a game you felt like you almost had to have coming off the disappointing loss to Central Florida. And we've had guys, we had 3-man Weave, who is very knowledgeable basketball resource if you're looking to find some more information on college basketball teams. They were on our show back in the fall previewing Texas Tech, and they think this team potentially has Elite Eight opportunities and capabilities. How confident are you moving forward after the Utah win? Should we look more into it? Should this be a building block, or is a jury still out for you in terms of the opportunity for this team to reach heightened levels of success?
Yeah, I'm not going to take the bait there and overreact because Utah was picked
on,
to
Conrad.
finish last.
Come
in the
on,
Big 12.
Kool-Aid man, let us
this is
overreact.
basketball. This is not football. There's a long way to go in the season. I mean, it is good to know that we can play the way we did on Saturday and play offensively. I mean, we knew we were a great offensive team, but defensively was a little bit better. Although, like Clayton said, still have some questions there. I mean, the jury's still out on this team. I think Tuesday night in Provo against a decent, pretty good BYU team will tell you a lot more about your team than this win did, just because of how bad Utah is, quite frankly. So jury's still out on this team, but am pleased that we did play as well as we did. I mean, winning 93-65 is a big deal in the Big 12, and especially on the road as well. So not trying to discount this, obviously very pleased, but again, you've got a lot to go to be, an Elite Eight team like you want to be.
Yep. Zyler, is there anything within the starting five you'd like to see changed?
Man, like Clayton said, your most efficient lineup has essentially been, replacing Kerwin with Overton, and you are doing that as the game goes on. The starting lineup doesn't really mean that much. It's who's actually getting those minutes. And I mean, you kind of saw that last night. The coaches aren't stupid. They know who should be playing for the most part. But if you look at the minute distribution, Chance McMillan's playing 35 minutes. Hawkins plays 32. Darion plays 28. Toppin with an outlier 14 minutes. But then you're seeing Christian Anderson, Federico, and Overton all 20 plus. Kerwin with 11, and he got 4 of those kind of in garbage time. So you're kind of seeing that transition. I imagine Grant will probably keep that same starting lineup unless something, I don't know, injury or something like that. Coaches are weird about that. They want to keep things the way that they've been going. They don't want to mess with any of the vibes or weird things like that. And I'd love for Kerwin to be a better contributor. He's still a great 3-point shooter, but Overton is clearly the more valuable player for your roster right now. And you've seen his minutes really surpass Kerwin as the season's kind of gone on.
Conrad, that's got to make you happy. Your favorite player, KO, stepping up a big way to start the season.
Yeah, he's been such a good player really throughout the season so far, and he's only gonna get better as time goes on too. So really excited to see him. But also, Christian Anderson, just to tag on Clayton, has been such a bright spot for me, and I feel like he's only getting better. So the more you see this team playing together, you never know how things can gel at the right time. Because if you get hot at the right time, as we've seen time over time in March, now you got to make the tournament first. But if you do make the tournament and get hot at the right time, and play your way into that, think Kevin and Christian can be big parts for you in that team. Brennan, do you agree? Do you have that same affinity for Christian and Kevin?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to start, on our preview show, is that your guard play has to be better. And just the guards, especially in the Big 12, is what is going to elevate your game. You can have a great big, but Toppin, with his skill set, unfortunately, in the Big 12, you're going to face guys like Hunter Dickinson and guys you can bring different bodies to him where he's going to have to kick it out. He's not going to be able to average 24 and 12 every game in the Big 12. It's just not realistic. So you need Hawkins to be able to kick out threes or to be able to attack the paint and dish it to a KO or a D5 or whoever. And I think with Anderson, what excites me about him being a true freshman is that he doesn't look like he's scared of the moment. I mean, coming in your first road Big 12 game, dude looks ready to go and he's confident. I mean, when they zoomed in on them huddling around the free throw line, you're looking at these faces. I'm like looking, I'm like, this guy is a kid. Like
he's a child.
Yeah, like he's a child. Some of these athletes, they look older than we do. And I'm like 10 years older than you. And you look like you used to be my dad. But he looks like a kid. And so it's great to see the youth. Really, I mean, if I'm trying to think back to some of your true freshmen, I mean, maybe since Jamias Ramsey, has he been maybe your most efficient true freshman? I mean, I can't think of a guy that's been that effective for you that young in the last 4 or 5 years. So he's filling some great shoes and a big need, but the guard play is really what is going to keep, I'm going to say this the rest of the year. It's what's going to carry you into March. and you need them to be consistent. I think they were 6 of 9 from 3 total. Hawkins, I think, had 4 of them. And it's just something you're going to have to hope to continue. And if it does continue, you will beat a lot of teams. That is something that'll be very hard to game plan against if Hawkins and Anderson are able to hit shots with the way Chance is shooting. I think Darion will continue to get better. He had a much better game than you know what you're getting in Toppin. So, Clayton, I mean, does anyone, Z, were you going to say something?
No, I agree with everything you said. You got a really good Hawkins game. When you get a really good Hawkins game, you're gonna win a lot.
Yeah.
So
Clay, my thought to you is with that lineup, do you think that teams, with how Toppin was playing in the non-conference, do you feel like Big 12 teams are going to emphasize doubling him and force Hawkins and Anderson to beat them? Or are you hoping that, with kind of that lineup you said that's averaging 2 points possession more, that you'll be able to space the floor and almost be somewhat unguardable?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Toppin will probably get doubled in some games. If you play him one-on-one, he's pretty much going to get to that left hook, and that's like a 70% shot. So that's probably going to force some doubles, but then it's like, what of those guys can you really leave open? That's a lot of good shooters on the floor. That's why I'm not worried at all about our offense. Even with Hawkins, he's had some games where he's struggled, but I'm really not concerned on that side of the ball at all. I think we just need to clean up the defense, get that to a top 40 or 30 unit, and I think we'll be a really good team. But I'm really not concerned about the offense at all. Federico has also been way better than I expected offensively. I did not expect him to be able to.
He plays his role. Yeah, he plays his role just way better than probably anybody else on the team. He doesn't have a huge role. It's block shots, get rebounds, and catch lobs, and he does all of those things really well. And he's actually pretty good up at the high post when they do the dribble handoffs. He runs those pretty efficiently. I still think you'd like Toppin up there if you had to choose, but he's been a big surprise for me. And with the JUCO ruling from Diego Pavia, you will get him back another year, and I'd be all for that. I'd take Federico back again. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, he moves better than I thought he would, and his hands are better because Hawkins throws up. I will say, credit to Hawkins, he throws some beautiful lobs. I mean, that dude puts them where only Fedo or Chance, in some of these fast break dunks can get to. And I think Federico's had a great job catching him. I mean, I'm surprised by his hands. It's not easy for a big guy to always catch some tough passes, and to be able to move off of a high screen has been great to see as well. And I think he's been a bright spot for sure. Z, go in a little bit on what this win specifically means into your bracketology potential. I know it's only January and we got 2 months, but this is an ever evolving scenario that plays out weekly when it comes to bracketology and what line you might be on, or if you're first four in or first four out. What did this win kind of do on a metric standpoint?
Yeah, so I'll share something real quick. If you can see, this is the site Bracketologist, and this compiles all of the relevant team sheet metrics that are important for you. The thing that you'll hear if you listen to anybody talk bracketology for Texas Tech is the predictive metrics are really good. Those metrics include KenPom, BPI, and T-Rank. That's Bart Torvik, that's the ESPN Basketball Power Index, and that's KenPom. So you're top 20 in all those. You have the predictive metrics of a 4 to a 5 seed. Really, really strong. Where your stuff struggles is the resume metrics. So what have you actually done? KPI at 60. Strength of record has not been updated since December 3rd. I would expect this to get close to the mid 70s. You need WAB or wins above bubble, strength of record, and the KPI to be in the 50s. That would be, you'd feel pretty good about getting a bid as a 10 seed or something like that. Anything past that, you're feeling really confident, but you need to be sub 50 in all of those things. So you made a good step. Wins above bubble was 87. KPI was in the 80s. You made a huge jump here. Still, if the tournament started today, you would be out, but you've got a lot of really neat opportunities left on your schedule. So you've got 4 of the next 5 games you play are all going to be Q1 opportunities, and these will be Q1 opportunities with a bullet. They're not, Utah, that game could get back into Q1, but you need Utah to get back into the 75th area. I don't really expect this win to become Q1, but it could. If Utah goes on a run, you'll be rooting for them. And then you need UCF to stay in a Q2. You don't want to add a second Q3 loss to your resume right now, but you added the first win of any sort of note, and that was this quad 2 win. with a win at Utah. Really big opportunity for you. And the great thing about being in the Big 12 is you've got a lot of opportunities to get Q1 wins. You got 12 more opportunities to do that, 4 more opportunities for quad 2 games, and then only 2 more quad 3 opportunities, which is nice. Those really only can hurt you. They don't really help you much. So a good step. But definitely not done. You've got a lot that you need to get done before you can feel confident about your tournament standing.
Dude, when did they start doing this stuff? Because think about I'm thinking of the movie Glory Road. Did y'all ever watch that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Back about the UTEP basketball team. It's a great. Back then they were doing 32 teams in the tournament. They're like, well, what's their metric? How did they? When did this stuff start getting really popular?
So the college basketball committee is like the exact opposite of the CFP committee for me. I think the college basketball committee generally does a good job. The only thing that I don't like about the CBB committee is they pretty much write in the bracket about a week before the tournament. They will not change anything unless you win the conference tournament. So if you're counting on winning some games in the conference tournament to get your resume up, that's not going to be a good idea for you.
Yeah, I agree, Zyler. I think it feels like the college basketball committee has much more process that they follow, and you know exactly what they're looking at, which in contrast to the football committee, it doesn't feel like you know what they're looking at. It seems like they pick the teams they want and then they justify it with whatever metrics fits that team.
Yep.
And it seems like the basketball committee, they have the metrics that they look at and they pick the teams based on that. The one issue that I did have with them last year was FAU's seeding. I didn't even think they deserved to be in the tournament. They got a 9 seed. I feel like sometimes they have
so weird.
Yeah, they have biases of what they think teams are preseason or what they did in the tournament last year. But yeah, other than that, I rarely have gripes with the committee.
Yeah, and some things that you'll be looking for just as seeding goes, the SEC has so many opportunities. The Big Ten, you need top teams that are in the top 4, top 16 teams. You want to see these guys run the table unless you are playing them. You don't want some of these bubble teams to pick up random home wins against Auburn or Iowa State, unless obviously you're playing Iowa State. That's what you need to be rooting for, so you can kind of catch back up to the field. And you've got a great opportunity to do that. If you go, let's say you go 2-1 over your next 3 games, I think you'll firmly be a 10 seed, maybe an 11 seed, but you'll be in that, last 4 in, last 4 buys, first 4. You'll be somewhere in there if you pick up, you go 2-1 over your next couple games. So you got a good opportunity, man. If you would have had that UCF win, you'd be sitting not nice, but you'd be sitting a lot more comfortably with not having 2 potential Q3 losses sitting on your resume.
Do y'all feel like there's a chance? I know we talked about it a little bit in our last episode, but that there's a chance that this team gets really, really hot and overachieves in Big 12 play? Because I don't think the offensive side of the ball is a question at all for Texas Tech, but defensively, is there a way we could figure this out? Do things like that typically happen mid-season, or is that would that be unexpected for us going forward?
No, I mean, I feel like I would much rather be in this position where you got to figure out the defense and the offense. I think it's much more unlikely that you can just become a good offensive team. Than becoming a defensive team, because that's much more effort and scheme rather than personnel. But I mean, the 2019 team, not to compare this team to that team, but they were not that good offensively throughout that year. And then, like you said, they got really hot towards the end. By the end of the year, they were a top 20 offense or something like that. So sure, I mean, that could happen on the defensive side. I don't ever foresee us being an elite defense, but if you can get top 30, top 35, I think this will be a pretty solid team.
Yeah, because you're sitting 60th right now. So if you could just improve, I mean, even top 40, you'd feel way better about it. And some of that's 3-point shooting regression. You've been pretty unlucky in that regard. But yeah, you'll just kind of have to see. It's going to be interesting next couple weeks. I want to see us, before I think, we're for sure going to be a tournament team based on the rest of the season. I want to see us win and compete and play well against a more physical team. There's going to be a lot of Big 12 teams that are more athletic than we are. I did not think Utah was more athletic than you were, even though they were taller. We were able to out-athlete them in a lot of ways. I want to see us. BYU won't be a great test of that, but it'll be a better test than what Utah was. Iowa State will be an excellent test of what that is actually going to look like. So,
yeah. You still have our roster. It seems like we should be better than. I mean, I know some of the games that we've played have just been kind of randomness, but I mean, on Evan Maya, like I referenced earlier, you have like 3 of the top like 45 players in the country,
Yep.
McMillan, Toppin, and Darion. So like we have the pieces. I feel like if, like Conrad said, we can just get hot and figure out the defense side of the ball to have a good season.
Yep. When we shoot well, we are going to be extremely hard to beat. Like when we're shooting 35% plus from the 3-point line, and yeah, I mean, we have the ability. This offense has the ability to just outscore you and not need defensive stops, defensive run. Like you're going to have, you can't let a team score every possession, but this team's offense it's not like top 15 good, not like it's like top 8 good. Like you can win games almost solely on your offense. You just can't rely on that week in and week out. You're not going to be hot every game. That's just not how it's going to work. So that's where you need the defense to step up to bail you out when your offense shoots, let's say 30% from the 3. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, Z, well, where would you put, or I guess better question is, what do you think the defense needs to do against BYU as we transition to look forward to Tuesday? And what should we expect from the Cougars specifically?
Yeah, BYU to me, so when you look at some of the Kim Pom stuff, some of the Bart Torvik stuff, offensively, you're going to be able to get some 3-point shots, which I think bodes well for you. Now, that's a little bit higher variance because, sometimes you're hitting shots and sometimes you're not. But 41.8% of BYU's points scored against them come from the 3-point line. That's one of the top numbers in the country, which is a bad thing. You don't want teams being able to bomb it against you. They don't really foul a lot, so you're not going to get to the free throw line, but you don't really do that much either. They're not a great defensive team, but neither are you. They're like slightly worse. They're like 80th in defense. You're like 60th in defense. So pretty similar units. They could have some good moments. You're going to have to play and execute well, but you should be able to score here. You're just going to need to hit shots. They're going to have some good answers for Toppin on the inside. I think defensively, this is where you've got to be really good. It's not the same team that Mark Pope had last year, but they do have a lot of the same players. They are efficient both inside and outside of the arc. Almost 50% of their shots are going to come from 3-point line. So don't go to Twitter and be mad and say, how are there so many threes going? Like, this is what they want to do. They want to shoot a ton of 3-pointers. They really don't take a ton of 2s, and they really don't take a ton of free throws. They're tall. They rotate they have a lot of players that are going to play, but there's kind of 3 main guys that I would note. Igor Demin, 6'9" freshman. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's from Moscow, Russia. Richie Saunders, you'll remember him last year, blonde, curly-haired kid. Sneaky athlete, and he can shoot it. And then Trevin Nell, he's got a 71.5% true shooting percentage, which means he is absolute sniper. You don't want him to get going. You're going to have to defend the 3-point line well. Make them hit tough 2s. Make them hit it from the free throw line. Don't let them just go on a 3-point barrage. I think the BYU home court's one of the best in the country. They pack out this place, so you're going to have to be able to limit them on runs, and that comes down to defense. And can you lock in? Can you do those things? Can you play without fouling if you're Toppin? And then, find a way to hit shots. Find a way to get a win. I don't care if it's by 1. I don't care if it's by 20. Just find a way to get out of there with the win, and you'd be super happy. So I don't know if you guys had any notes on BYU. They got crushed by Houston Saturday, but Houston just does that to every team that's not like a top 30 team. They are excellent at dominating like inferior opponents. So any thoughts from you guys on the BYU Cougars?
Yeah, I haven't watched BYU at all this year, but like you said, they have some of the players left from last year. I actually didn't know that Trevin Nell was still on the team. Mm-hmm. That guy is a sniper. He can get super hot.
Yep.
But yeah, you should be more athletic than them. Definitely a tough home court. I do feel like them playing at Houston Saturday and you playing in Utah Saturday is maybe a slight, advantage, but just maybe like something working in your favor. And yeah, I want to see, this is like the best, road environment that you're going to have played in up to this point. So I want to see how the team responds, especially the younger guys like Overton and Christian Anderson.
Yep.
Conrad, what would a win and how important would a win be for Texas Tech? I know it's early in the season, it's only January, but what would a win, back-to-back road wins in Utah, just do for your program as it heads into the meat of the Big 12 schedule?
Yeah, I think considering how you started losing to UCF and now going to this Utah trip and winning your first game against a pretty underwhelming team in Utah in an underwhelming environment. We didn't even talk about that. It looked like an empty gym, kind of. It just did not seem like there was any energy in there at all. But to to win both these games on the road in Utah against Utah and then BYU, I think that sets the kind of like, you lost to Washington State in football, and then you come off and win a few games in a row and string it. It makes it feel a lot better, because the Utah UCF loss doesn't sting maybe like a Washington State loss did, but considering everything together, if you can go on the road and win 2 Big 12 games back to back, I'm not saying the hype is all the way back necessarily with this team just because of the statistics we've already talked about, but it does a lot for you. Now, after that, your schedule, as we know, does not get any easier with Iowa State at home. But hopefully that would, if you could find some way on earth to win that game and go Utah win, BYU win, and then Iowa State win, that's a whole different conversation, which hopefully we will have next week. But a win against BYU, I think, makes you feel comfortable again and kind of puts you at ease. Clayton, do you have anything to add maybe to how a win against BYU and this team in this environment would make you think about this team?
I feel like you hit on everything pretty good. We talked about like after the UCF game, if you can go 2-0 in Utah, that kind of like not erases it, but makes you feel a lot better that the UCF game was more of a fluke than like who you actually are. And I think that would be what I took away from it if we are able to, obviously I want to see how the game plays out, but if you can go to BYU and win, then I'd more so lean towards UCF being a fluke, and like the A&M game, you were without Toppin, so you still got to put wins together on the schedule, but I would feel a lot better about the team if we were able to come out with a win.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Z, any thoughts on that before we transition to tech trivia?
Yeah, I mean, the tournament, it's always, you're going to hear stuff about the tourney and weak bubble and different things like that. Like Clayton said, you just got to put wins on your resume. You just don't have any meat on the bones. I think if your predictive metrics hold and you stay top 15 in KenPom all year, you're going to be just fine. You'll get in the tourney. You'll be a 7-6, something like that. You just got to make sure that you string some wins together. That's got to get hot, go on runs, beat good teams, which is something that you haven't beaten a top 50 team yet this year. So BYU will be your first opportunity to do that. And then you'll get to play one of the best teams in the country at home in Iowa State. So a lot of opportunity still remains. That's the great thing about basketball, is you can turn it around so quickly. It can also spiral out of control super quickly. So it can go either way. But yeah, you got some stuff to figure out. And I trust Grant to get things going. I'll be really excited to watch us on Tuesday.
Okay, well, it's prediction time then. So, Conrad, I'll go to you first. Will Texas Tech double up in the great state of Utah and go 2-0?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we go 2-0, and I think we own the state of Utah. So I'll say we win. I don't know how many. I would think we would score 80 plus points, but I do think I'm not sure how many they'll score against us. I think that totally depends on the game. But I will say we do win and head back to the USA in Lubbock, Texas, with a 2-1 Big 12 record. Zyler?
Yeah, man, it's so tough. That home court, I'm worried against betting at it. The KenPom line currently has you favored by 1, so truly almost a dead heat toss-up. I'll take us to win, but I'll take us to win a close one. I'll take us to win by 2 points. BYU misses a shot at the end to get it done. This is not a team that, they played well against Arizona State, but got blasted by Houston. I just don't know. I don't know who this BYU team is. I won't be shocked either way. A blowout on either side would not surprise me at all. If one team shoots 45%, the other shoots 25% from 3, it'll be a blowout. So it will be interesting, but I'll take us to win by 2 points.
Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. This is a toss-up for me. I know after the UCF game, I picked us to lose this game. Seeing how we played on Saturday and seeing how BYU played, like Zyler said, Houston does that to people. But I don't know if the numbers back this up, but it seems like I would want to play a team the game after they play Houston. Like they just beat you down so much, and then traveling, they're the team that's traveling. So I'll keep us in the win column. I'll go Tech by like 4, but I think it's a high scoring game. Both teams in the 80s.
I think you find a way to win on the road. I think this is I would have rather played in Utah before you kind of get to be there. They're coming from Houston, so in a way, you're kind of going to be the more rested team, even though it's a home game for BYU. And I like Texas Tech to find a way to win this game and go back with a big time matchup against Iowa State in the USA on Saturday. So I'm going to go Texas Tech 88, BYU 77. I think you pull away late.
Just a quick update for you. You remember Keyshawn Hall from UCF, who cooked you so mightily in the USA? He's currently 3 for 15 in their game against Kansas, 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. So that does appear to be an aberration. I don't know that Keyshawn Hall is going to turn himself into an all-conference player. So
yeah, seems like that's happened every game you've lost, right?
I know.
It does.
So, well, Z, why don't you close us out? Our basketball content. We'll be here weekly, by the way, just, and I know the games, multiple games a week, it's changing. So we'll be doing some of the similar stuff we did during football. But one thing that does stay the same is tech trivia at the end of every episode. So Z, what do you have for us for our tech trivia question of the episode?
Yeah, not sure if you guys saw this in the box score, but one of the most efficient games that you've played against Utah from a turnover perspective. Does anybody remember how many turnovers we had against Utah in our game last night?
I think 4? It was 5. I was going to guess 5.
I was going to say 5 too.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Man, you guys are sharp. I thought I would really get you. I mean, Tech's been so notorious for turning over the ball a lot. But yeah, very clean there. 2 from Christian Anderson, 1 from, give me just a moment, 1 from Hawkins, 1 from Williams, and then 1 as a team. If you go 5 turnovers to 22 assists, you're going to win a lot of games. So hopefully we can continue that and, get another win in Utah.
I saw that was the first time we've gone 20 assists, 5 turnovers in a conference game since like 2010 or something like that.
Wow.
See, you should have done trivia. I didn't even see that. So
there you go.
There you go.
Be better. Good job, Clay. Well, that was a ton of fun, guys. We'll be back to review or react to the BYU episode on Thursday. Then we also have some special stuff coming up this week. We've got a special episode dropping on Friday. It'll be our football awards show episode. It's a special episode we're releasing, so be on the lookout for that. A couple other things of note as well, that we are still doing our college football pick'em, our playoff bracket challenge. So if you filled out a bracket on our ESPN, we are following that. We're down to the final 4, which means here in a couple weeks, if you win that challenge, you will be on the show. So don't forget about that. Be checking your bracket if you're in the group. And finally, please like the video if you so choose, and then subscribe to the channel by clicking the link in the button above. You can also check out all of our social medias in the description. If you're following along on Spotify and Apple, we appreciate you giving us a 5-star review and liking the channel as well there on those platforms too. And then also, you can check us out on our social medias at the Broadway Shuffle, and then find us on Twitter too. We tend to tweet. Zyler's running our Twitter, so if there's some rage posts throughout games, know it's Zyler. It doesn't speak for the 3 of us always, so we can't control what Z says. So, all right, guys. Well, that was a lot of fun. We'll be back on Thursday for a reaction to the BYU game. And we'll see you guys on Friday as well with our first annual Broadway Shuffle Football Awards. But for Zyler, Clayton, and Conrad, I'm Brennan, and we'll see you shufflers next time on the Broadway Shuffle. Have a great day.